Welcome everyone. My name is Sara Westrick and I am the Advocacy Director for AARP Maryland. I am delighted to be here today with volunteer superstar Dorinda Adams, and we're going to go over some of the legislative wins that together we helped achieve for the state of Maryland in this past 2026 legislative session. I'm happy to share that we helped pass 46 bills into law, working on behalf of Marylanders age 50 plus and their families.
What an exciting session that was for you and for all of AARP and all of the consumers that we represent across the state of Maryland, Sara. I just am amazed that you had 46 wins for AARP Maryland.
And across the gamut in many different sectors, and that's what we're going to go over briefly today. For the full list of wins, you can check our website and download our summary. But let's start off talking about Longevity Ready Maryland.
I think what I like about Longevity Ready Maryland is that it actually is now in state statute. And that ensures that as a state, we are looking at how to make Maryland age-friendly in all communities. And when we're thinking about age-friendly, we actually end up being thoughtful about planning for all generations growing into aging. So that's a win-win.
I couldn't agree more. What I love about Longevity Ready Maryland is the multi-sectoral approach, because in order to have a quality of life, we have to work in all of these different areas, whether it's transportation, healthcare, social connections, and forging a better environment and community for all of us in Maryland to enjoy as we age. So let's move on into healthcare, and specifically on the workforce. There's a bill that passed in its third attempt this year that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is the Safe Staffing Act of 2026.
Again, from my perspective, what's incredible about the Safe Staffing Act is that it's inclusive of the entire workforce, and that solutions sometimes come when you don't think they may come from people that you don't think would necessarily have a solution. But in talking about this bill during the session, I actually used my own work experience where we learned so much from aides that provided the actual hands-on personal care to our clients in the field. They were very vulnerable adults. And so this is powerful. This is where we're going to get some real impact from people that are doing the work.
I couldn't agree more. This bill mandates hospitals to form staffing committees comprised of all different types of workers. And that's really where I think that collaborative problem solving can take place to help address quality of care, hopefully emergency department wait times, and a whole host of other issues related to stress, burnout, and working conditions for our hospital employees.
All workers have value. That's what it's really saying, and we need to acknowledge that.
Absolutely, and all workers can lead from where they are as well, and this will give them a pathway, I think, for that. So let's shift our attention a little bit to the area of financial protection. AARP worked so hard on a bill that's known as the Vulnerable Adult Banking Act. This is a type of bill that's sometimes referred to as a report and hold bill. And we had some dynamic volunteer advocates turn their tragedy into advocacy, and they are helping through the passage of this bill to prevent what happened to them in terms of financial predation and financial exploitation from happening to other people.
Yeah. I think what's really important is that, again, this bill has a solution, and it's also getting the conversation moving forward that fraud occurs at many different levels. And if we start actually talking about it, we are going to find solutions like this bill. It's just a pause, and that's important.
Absolutely. A lot of times these criminals try to scare their victims and tell them not to talk to people about what's going on in their life. and it's a scary time to be intimidated and to not know if the so-called authority figure perhaps in this scam has actually real power over them or not. And this allows a bank or financial institution, credit union, to ask a couple of questions that might give that pause and interrupt the scam from progressing. As we've talked about in many different venues, once financial resources leave the account of the person victimized, it's very difficult to recover that money. Yeah. So again, moving on, let's talk about estate planning, because this is an area of work that doesn't often attract the big headlines. It's kind of the nuts and bolts, but we had a huge win with a bill called the Transfer on Death Deed Act. And this is going to help a lot of families pass along their most valuable asset, their home, preserving generational wealth. What are your thoughts on this bill?
Again, it's such a practical win for all Marylanders in the long run, and we can't begin to say thank you to AARP when we really think about it, because as many families know, they often lose value because of long probate. So it's just one of those bills that really just makes me happy to be part of the AARP Maryland volunteer team.
I'm very proud of this win, and I'm very excited to see this simplified form go into effect later this year and to help families pass along that asset in their home.
This one might be one we need to have a big press release on, since you said we don't hear about it too often.
Absolutely, I'm trying to get the word out. We see estate planning as part of our caregiving work. It's a part of that to help caregivers plan for the future, and absolutely working on some ideas in that respect. And since we're touching on caregiving, let's get into some of those big wins. We had a number of significant wins in the long-term care reform space. We are really fortunate to have a wonderful long-term care ombudsman in Maryland, and we worked hard on 2 bills that were promoted by this office. The first bill, let's talk about closing the involuntary discharge loophole.
That's a definite win for protection, because often people, whether they're a family member or another person identified as the point of contact for someone in care, they get that call and say, come now. And this does provide a little bit of a cushion in order to ensure that they can think about some safe planning for an appropriate discharge.
Absolutely. Previously, persons could be involuntarily discharged if they were at a nursing home less than 30 days without any due process, care planning, or notice, and this led to tragic circumstances. So now there are more safeguards built into the process, more notification with the Office of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman. And I can't speak more highly about our ombudsman, which brings me to the second bill, which I'm really, really excited about, which is providing some dedicated funding for this office. There's the statewide ombudsman, but then there are local ombudsmen in all of the counties working on behalf of the residents in long-term care facilities.
Yep.
They speak for the residents, and they help resolve disputes. They help intervene when there's a miscommunication or misunderstanding. And now that office is going to have predictable, reliable funding, and not at the cost of taxpayers. It's coming from a creative source, and I'm so happy that this office can count on that funding to be well staffed, to provide training, to strategically plan for their operations.
And again, we need to promote the fact that this is an independent office.
Absolutely.
It's not affiliated with any state organization providing oversight. It is there specifically for the resident and the resident's family that are involved specifically. So that's important.
Yeah.
We need to have those independent opportunities to protect people.
I couldn't agree more. Dorinda, you are also our lead caregiving volunteer, overseeing a large team of caregiving advocates here at AARP Maryland. You share with me a couple of the big caregiving wins.
Well, I'm not going to remember Bill's by specific number right now, just so folks know, because I've kind of let go of numbers for the moment. But there's two specifically that are identified as caregiver bills that I'll start with. One of them being a feasibility study to look at what the state of Maryland currently provides to support family caregivers, and trying to take information from data. AARP has national data as well as Maryland specific and other data resources, but also from caregivers themselves and what is working to support caregivers in our state and what isn't working. And what I think is really great about this particular bill is that they had support from the comptroller's office. They had support from basically the entire General Assembly, as I recall, and the governor. And so that is a win-win. And I just see Maryland leading the way as it relates to feasibility for our family informal caregivers.
Yes, family caregivers often provide many of their own financial resources to care for their loved ones, and this can affect their own retirement planning and their livelihoods as well. And so, again, to the partnership aspect, very excited to see the University of Maryland leading on this, working with the comptroller, supported by AARP and other caregiving advocates. And we are hopeful to see what comes from this work.
I think some amazing things, actually.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate. And then the second bill is specifically establishing a web page dedicated to family informal caregivers across the lifespan in Maryland within the Department of Health. And again, AARP, because of the work that we're doing in the caregiving space, we're participating in a national pilot, as you know, around caregiving, but we are also very engaged in this issue in Maryland specifically. And we are going to help make sure that that web page is actually truly supporting its intention of family informal caregivers.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we as AARP have a lot to contribute and help shape that resource.
Yep, and partners will be involved in
absolutely.
that too. So we need to, that's I think one of the values of all of this. We had so many tremendous partnerships.
Yes, the session was characterized by all of our partnerships. I like to say advocacy is a team sport, and we're lucky to have terrific partners throughout the community, throughout the state. So a little while ago, another volunteer advocate, and I did a webinar about utility costs. But let's just take a moment and talk about the big utility omnibus. This was a massive bill that wrapped up a lot of other smaller initiatives that we had also been advocating for. And we're hopeful that the impact of this bill will start to be, or now it's a law, I keep saying a bill.
Yeah.
The impact of this new law will be felt by ratepayers and help bring down costs. As we know, affordability is the term of the day, or of the season, let's say. And so we're hopeful that this Utility Relief Act will bring some savings.
I believe it will. I do believe it will, and I think that it establishes, again, a baseline of fairness around the infrastructure. It shouldn't be the consumer paying for the infrastructure.
Right, or the large load customers passing those costs on. And we were also very happy to see that some of the home energy assistance programs were consolidated under the Office of Home Energy Programs. and I think it's going to help people who need energy assistance in accessing those services. So let's maybe end on a bill law that we worked on closely together throughout the session, known as the LEAD Act. Dorinda, this was something that you championed throughout the legislative session. Could you reflect on what the LEAD Act means?
So the LEAD Act is really looking at the term elopement, which we often think it has one meaning, but in law enforcement and in human services has a different meaning. It really means about people that are vulnerable to wandering or running away from something, but maybe they're not running away from something. So that is really a lifespan issue, again, from early childhood all the way to individuals living with dementia. And what this bill is doing is ensuring that our police officers, first and foremost, at every level, whether in the county or at the state or in a municipality, have the training to actually understand that elopement can happen and you're not even aware that it's happening, and that there are certain factors to be looking at and considering across the lifespan. So this is a win for everyone.
I agree so wholeheartedly. Throughout the session, when I spoke with legislators, advocates, and brought up this issue of wandering, also known as elopement, everyone had a story, whether it was a family member, a neighbor, a friend. Everyone could relate to this issue of having someone they care about wander off, and the fear and the unknown of when and how that person could be located. And I think empowering the first responders with knowledge about what is typical in this type of situation with someone who is prone to wandering is going to help benefit so many people and hopefully save lives, because sadly in many of these instances end tragically. And I think with this education and awareness and training, we can save lives.
I believe that too. Powerful bill.
Really powerful. And
or law.
Yeah. You're doing the same. So thank you so much, Dorinda, for being here for this conversation. Just to sum up, again, we worked as an advocacy team on healthcare, utilities, long-term care reform, caregiving, fraud prevention, and many other topics that we didn't cover today. So again, putting in a plug for you to go to our website and download the comprehensive PDF of the 47 bills that have now become law. And you know what impressed me is we had more than 20 volunteer advocates involved in our work this past session, including Dorinda, and in 11 committees. We were testifying in 11 different committees, which is nearly all of them, and to me just shows the breadth of work that we do and all that we're trying to accomplish for Marylanders.
I would like to say, if anyone listening has never participated in this arena and in anything that Sara and my conversation has sparked, you get in touch with Sara and consider joining our team. Because there's many pieces of this work, and I have a feeling that if anything sparks you, this will spark you to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorinda, for that plug. Our work really is about changing lives, changing systems, and empowering people to choose how they live as they age. To echo what Dorinda said, if you are interested in joining us, you can go to the website and click on the I want to volunteer, or send an email to us. We'll put that information in the comments below. So with that, we'll close. I'll thank you again for joining me today. Thank you for listening, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your summer.